From the Palace at Uncle's Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of WorkCom Matters, the central location for all your workers' compensation, employment, and labor law matters. My name is Steve Appel, and I'll be your host for the next hour with some talk, news, and hopefully some answers about work comp matters. Thanks for being part of the show, and if you can break away from your work comp matters, feel free to give us a call and clue us in with your questions, comments, and or concerns. The phone number worldwide, 818-357-4120. You can send an email to wcexaminer@aol.com. You can be old school and send a fax to 818-475-1437. With me in studio, my right-hand man, Mike Zima, my protege, attorney Robert Ozeron. Scott's on the board taking care of the technical difficulties, and back at WorkComp Central, making sure the whole damn thing goes right, is Jake Harris. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. Tonight's show was going to be on poker. I've actually been wanting to do a show about poker since we started Work Comp Matters, but because of the events in the past 24 hours dealing specifically with California, there was no question in my mind. Tonight's show is on California and whether or not it's a sanctuary state. For those of you that have not heard, hot off the press, literally within 30 minutes of us starting to record, and here we are on Wednesday night, it's just been announced that Donald Trump is going to come out to California for the first time next week, and he's going to Robert's old stomping grounds. He's going to San Diego, and for those of you that don't know, Jeff Sessions was in Sacramento this morning, and I think Trump is making the right move by going down to San Diego. One is to talk about the wall, but two, San Diego essentially always has been, still is, and probably will continue to be one of the more conservative parts of the state. Here in Southern California, we're pretty liberal and democratic. Up north, clearly liberal and democratic. In fact, we were talking before the show, we've got a Democratic registration rate in California of about 45%, which just about doubles the Republican registration, somewhere between 25 and 30%. The Republican registration has continually gone down ever since Ronald Reagan got out of politics. But what is increasing in California are the independents, those that declare to state. And I think if you're going to come to California and you're Donald Trump and you're facing a bunch of angry Democratic liberals, best place to go is probably San Diego. What was it like in San Diego, Robert? Were you just too busy with law school to worry about politics? I mean, hopefully you avoided hepatitis. Oh, that's right. That didn't occur until after you were an attorney.
Yeah. That the hepatitis outbreak in San Diego was many years after I was already relocated in Los Angeles as an attorney. But San Diego, I enjoyed my time in law school at University of San Diego, the school on the hill there in the, close to downtown, above Old Town there. I used to go get tacos for lunch. It was really nice. I enjoyed the Mexican food in San Diego. A lot more than I like the LA Mexican food, I got to say. When
I was younger, and I mean in my single digits, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I spent about 24 weekends down in San Diego's, mostly Shelter Island, because my dad kept his boat there, and we would literally drive down from Los Angeles, spend about, at that time it was 2 hours on the freeway. Now it's like 4 hours on the freeway from Los Angeles to San Diego, no matter when you go.
Yeah, I used to take that drive all the time. It's a tough drive. Depends on the wind.
Yeah, and we'd hang out for about 2 days, 2 nights on the boat, and then we would drive back up. But talking about California as a sanctuary state, this is really a simple question, which I don't necessarily have the answers to, but we're going to talk about it and get some comment whether or not 3 specific laws that were put into effect by California last year violate the Supremacy Clause, violate the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution, because Attorney General Sessions has filed a lawsuit on behalf of the United States government against the Golden State of California Jerry Brown, Xavier Becerra, they are pissed to all holy hell, and we've got it as the first news story. He's my right-hand man. He keeps me in check and out of trouble about 90% of the time with the first news story of the night on Work Comp Matters, Mr. Mike Zyma.
The United States of America filed the lawsuit yesterday against the state of California over 3 new laws passed last year to protect immigrants living in California illegally. The lawsuit argues the new California laws violate the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution and interferes with federal immigration enforcement. The lawsuit against California by the U.S. Attorney General Sessions deals with 3 state laws passed last year that the Justice Department contends violates the United States Constitution.
Now that's a mouthful, so let me. That's okay.
Thank you.
This is a really long news story. So the first question that we have is: do the 3 laws that were legally voted into California are they unconstitutional? Do they violate the Supremacy Clause? And I'll defer to Robert. Do you know offhand the Supremacy Clause? I know it's different than the 10th Amendment.
I don't. I know it's located somewhere in the language there, right? In the preamble? Somewhere around
Mike,
there?
I
Or right
know
after the preamble?
Mike, I think you have
section.
like a...
I don't know.
A site?
This is all con law. I didn't do right after the bar. You study that stuff. Constitutional law is actually one of those issues on the bar exam you should do fairly well on. I remember I did because it's a closed area of law in the sense that all the decisions have been. There's no evolving decisions so far. So it's one of the stronger areas on the multi-state for bar exam study programs. They expect you to do well on the con law section.
All right, very good. Well, I know for a fact, because I did it, we cut and pasted word for word the 3 laws that were in effect, and go for it.
Okay, so there's, like you said, there's 3 of them. SB 54, the California Values Act. This is understood as the sanctuary law. The Trump administration is suing to allow local law enforcement officials in California to do 2 things that SB 54 now prevents them from doing. Number 1, tell federal agents when an immigrant will be released from jail or prison, or give them other non-public personal information other than the immigrant's immigration status. And 2, transfer immigrants directly into federal custody from local jails without a warrant from a judge for their arrest. The local officials are allowed to do this if an immigrant has committed certain serious crimes.
So that new law, SB 54?
SB 54.
That prevents ICE from doing what's enumerated in the law, which they could do before the law was enacted, correct?
Well, they don't have to tell federal agents.
Okay.
Robert, what is your constitutional litmus test say about this particular law, SB 54?
Well, we only heard the one aspect right now, correct?
Yeah. All right, well, let's go for the other 2.
Let's go for the third.
There's 2 more.
Okay, then AB 103, the Detention Review Law. The DOJ is suing to strike down a law that requires the California Attorney General to review any facility where immigrants are being detained by federal agents while waiting for an immigrant court date or their deportation, or where unaccompanied minors are being held while waiting to be placed with a relative.
And this, of course, includes, but it is not limited to, employment, which directly affects Work Comp Matters.
And the last one is AB 450, the Workplace Raid Law.
Specifically dealing with employment. Go ahead.
Just like the DOJ is suing to let law enforcement cooperate more broadly with federal agents with its challenge to SB 54, it's suing to let employers cooperate with federal agents during workplace raids or audits. The feds are suing to strike down provisions that prevent employers from letting ICE agents access non-public areas of the workplace during raids or giving ICE agents access to employee records without a judicial warrant, though ICE agents would still be allowed to look over an employer's I-9 files, the form to verify an employee's ability to work in the U.S. legally.
And that, in all probability, could include medical HIPAA records.
It sounds like it's a really tough position for an employer to be in. Firstly, if you don't hire undocumented workers, I presume then you're not going to have any problems. So that's a good way to avoid the problem, right? Hire American.
Which I don't know about American, but you're allowed to work if you're not American.
Higher legal. Okay. Higher
Right.
documented legal visas, whatever it is.
It's clearly against the law if you, as an employer, hire people that are not legally allowed to work.
Yes. Now, there are temporary permits out there, right? And then there's a large discussion about the fact that perhaps there's not enough temporary work visas, and a lot of these immigrants are doing jobs that Americans won't do, right? We talked about that one, I think, previously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to see a lot of kids that go to an American high school want to go out and pick, cabbage in the fields in Oxnard. Those are jobs done by immigrants, and you would be hard-pressed to find an American among them, a natural-born one, okay? That's just the facts. It'd be strange if you did find an English speaker as their primary language out there in the fields. You'd ask them what they're doing, right? Even though it's more than fine for you to have an honest day's living in America no matter what you're doing, it would be strange. You'd be out of place. So there's a lot of work out there that obviously there's work for them. If there's work for them, then clearly, something's going on where we are creating a magnet for them to come here. And then, these companies, that's the reason I think the border has been porous for so long, is that Republican or Democrat, it's been money. That's all people are, care about is replaceable workers. They get hurt. I see this in work comp all the time. They get fired, right? A lot of discrimination cases happen to people who don't speak English because these people are replaceable, right? As opposed to an English speaker who's born here.
They also feel like if they make trouble, they're going to be deported if indeed they're here illegally.
Correct. So the employers a lot of times are the bad guys in this situation, looking to profiteer when they know that I'm not blaming the immigrants, put it that way. These are poor, uneducated people who are just looking to work, right? And if you give them a magnet, they will come, period. It's our responsibility to have secure borders and to have employers who follow the law. If they don't follow the law, you're going to have this problem. So perhaps more laws pointed at the employer to have to comply with federal requirements wouldn't be out of place, is all I'm saying. And any state law that puts the employer in a conflicting situation, that employer put himself in that conflicting situation.
I can't argue with that. Ignorance is no excuse. And certainly this is all new to us. We're seeing it for the first time. Mike's going to finish up with the story, and then we have our first musical break, and then we'll come back. Go ahead, Mike.
The DOJ argues that these restrictions, quote, have the purpose and effect of interfering with the enforcement of the federal prohibition on working without authorization, end quote. This is basically the heart of the lawsuit, that California passed laws that are designed to stop the federal government from enforcing its laws, and that's not permissible under the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution. That's the government position.
You're listening to Work Comp Matters. Sanctuary State. We're brought to you by A1 Law and Santa Monica Tickets. If you want the number one computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys in California than any other system, give me a call at 818-357-4120. And if you want those hard-to-get sold out, even front row concert, sports, or theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587. We were going to do poker tonight, but the United States government filed a lawsuit against the Golden State. So we will be back next week with poker, and I know John had prepared his segment on poker. We're going to hold it off till next week, but right now it's time for our first musical break. He's La Familia, he's Glenn Laughlin, he's the Cherry Blue Storms, and Baby, You're a Rich Man.
How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? Now that you know who you are, what do you want to be? And have you traveled very far, far as the eye can see? Baby, you're a rich man. You're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do. How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? How often have you been there? Often enough to know. What did you see when you were there? Nothing. show. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do.
A rich man apparently is coming to California next week. It's President Donald Trump for the first time. And my understanding, he's going to visit San Diego to talk about the wall. I'm sure he's going to talk about California being a sanctuary state. I don't want to go to war as a citizen living in the beautiful state of California. I don't want to go to war with the federal government, but apparently two people do, and Mike has the next news story about those two people, or at least one of them.
Well, Governor Brown's response. Okay, Governor Brown today slammed U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions for, quote, initiating a reign of terror, end quote, against immigrants in California. Quote, this is basically going to war against the state of California, the engine of the American economy. It's not wise, it's not right, and it will not stand. End quote. Brown and California Attorney General Javier Becerra held a press conference at the Capitol to defend the laws following a speech by Sessions to a law enforcement conference in downtown Sacramento this morning. Governor Brown has dismissed the speech as a political stunt.
Okay, and for all of you liberal Democrats that say this is just another example of why California should secede from the Union, forget it. It's never going to happen. It never happened before. It won't happen now, and it never will.
Secede.
Did I pronounce that wrong?
I think you said succeed.
Oh, secede.
Secede.
I meant
But,
leave. Get the hell out.
You know, what's interesting, Governor Brown's comments that General Sessions' speech was just political theater.
That's not true.
I was thinking the exact opposite, that the Jerry Brown speech is nothing but political theater. Who does he think he is, the President of the United States? He's just the governor of California. The immigration laws are the exclusive power of the federal government. So if you think you're president, what do you think? You're breaking apart the union? And I love California. I'm a lawyer born and raised in Southern California.
I love California.
Gosh, I love California.
Would never live anywhere else. In fact, we have a news story, which may or may not surprise some of you, about where California ranks as far as a good quality place to live. But I've been looking forward all day to reading this next news story. And Robert, I want your comment on this. Now, this is a little easier to understand. I know I didn't give it to you up front, and I know, getting those Senate bills and Assembly bills, right off the cuff are difficult. This will be a little easier for you, okay? Adult film star Stormy Daniels, also known as Stephanie Clifford, has filed a civil lawsuit against President Donald Trump, a.k.a. David Dennison, asking a California court to declare that the non-disclosure agreement, and we've talked about non-disclosure agreements here many times, between them for $130,000 was not valid because not only did, she says Trump never signed on it, but my understanding is His name is not even on it. Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, supposedly signed the agreement for Dennison, Donald Trump, and paid the $130,000 out of his own pocket. Even if Cohen or another attorney for Trump had signed for Trump, Dennison, a court could conclude that the attorney's signature was ineffective in this case because nobody signed for Trump. So we have a lot of issues here. First, Donald Trump never signed it. But even more important, I don't think his name's on the agreement, okay? They list this guy named Dennison, who supposedly is the alias for Trump. So number one, Robert. Oh, and apparently also the agreement defers to arbitration. So one, is it a valid agreement if Donald Trump doesn't sign? Two, is it a valid agreement that affects Donald Trump if his name is not on it and Dennison is not on it? And number three, and most importantly, has this attorney committed a disbarring offense by paying money out of his own pocket for the agreement and potential misrepresentation and arguably fraud?
It's my understanding that he disclosed that he had paid the dough in response to a request from a government entity. I don't know whether it was a subpoena or something, but his motivation was to avoid, professional liability for doing something wrong, like misfeasance. He was worried about that. Supposedly,
the official statement, if I recall correctly, was that he paid it out of his own pocket. It was not paid on behalf of Trump, and he was not reimbursed by Trump.
Robert, do you buy that?
Well, buy what specifically?
That the guy just out of the goodness of his heart paid 130 G's down?
Well, firstly, I don't care. Personally, I don't care who the president had slept with, whether he was married or not. What is it, 15 years ago, 20 years? I have no idea. I don't care. Didn't he say something bad 15, 20 years ago, too?
I think it was more like 10.
Whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that, they make these accusations. If you look into their sex life, it'll get weird. So I try to avoid looking at people's sex lives. That said, the legal aspects of this, the contract, firstly, if she took the money originally, right? The check cashed, she took the cash?
There's no question about it that she took the money, accepted the money.
So if there's a paper trail, in fact, indicating that she knowingly took the money for this purpose, regardless of whether it's an alias of Trump or not, right? If she knowingly took the money to waive this claim, and there's, even if Trump's name's not in it, if there's another document, like an addendum that says, who this Dennison person is.
Parole evidence.
It's a John Doe you may have had a sexual encounter with on this and this date, right? That's more than enough to identify the individual if you know who you're talking about. And if she took the money, cashed it, and now later tries to make more money after claiming some nonsense and breach of contract because his name's not on it, maybe you can find some technical case law. I'm not a contracts expert.
I think actually they're arguing that it's unenforceable because he didn't.
That's one of the things they're arguing, but I'll give you the issue. Trump denied the affair, or more so denied the relationship, and he did that publicly as president. If it is found that they had a weekend or they spent 6 months together.
It's Clinton all over again.
It's totally different. Okay,
because he
has
to
do it in the Oval Office.
He has to resign.
That's
because
true.
He lied to the American public.
Like Clinton resigned, right?
Clinton didn't resign,
right? Because he never had sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky, who went to my high school. Way to go, Beverly Hills High School.
Are you serious?
Yeah, not with me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not with me. She was more Scott's time, I think, out there on the board. But so I don't know. We have to ask. But definitely, she was a Beverly Hills High School Norman, and she did some fine things there with her time at the White House.
You see. Clinton said, "I did not have sex with that woman," and then they went on in the deposition and defined what sex is,
what
and that's
Trump?
The definition. Clinton said, "I did not have sex with that woman."
Sexual relations, I think.
Right, and then when they deposed him, it was all a definition of what is. Trump has said
nonsense.
he did not have a relationship with that woman. He didn't say he didn't have sex with her. He said, I didn't have a relationship.
That's even a more vague term to me. What does a relationship mean? You and I have a relationship. Scott and I have a relationship. The relationship is what we have to something. It's relation.
If they've been banging each other for 6 months, that's not considered a relationship?
No, not to me. The relationship's in the eye of the beholder, right? It's in the mind of the person.
This is why he's my protege, folks.
Well, I'm just saying, Clinton can define a word like sexual relations when you know what he's doing to putting in every orifice out there, right? Versus Trump, who says, I don't have a relationship with this woman. What if we don't have a relationship? Maybe I don't even know this person's name. It's a bar. It's a one-night stand. Do you have a relationship with that person?
He was blindfolded and handcuffed. He didn't know who she was.
He knew who he was dealing with, if in fact he dealt with her.
I'm just saying a relationship is a very open term, right? It arguably includes everybody. And depending on how you want to take it, it doesn't include anybody if you start saying, I meant business relationship.
Very good point. Very good point.
So it's a very vague term. If he said, I never had sexual intercourse with her, that would be very scientific. And now you can be like, aha, we have a clear definition of this penetrating that. This is more open and vague, which is why I don't want to talk about Donald Trump's sex life.
Did you give Clinton a pass, though? In fairness, did you give Clinton a pass?
Clinton's more likely to make a pass at me, right? So I don't know about that. So sorry about that, Bill. The Bill. He's a good guy, I heard.
He's a good what?
It's a good guy. He's a good guy.
I thought you said something else.
Just trying to make up for my comment right before that where I accused him of making passes at everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I guess you went to school with a lot of women that wore berets.
Did Monica Lewinsky wear a beret?
Yes, she was famous for wearing her. That's the type of hat that you wore, right?
Oh, she was famous for wearing her beret.
Yes,
I forgot what she was famous for.
Yeah.
It must have been that beret.
I'm not talking about wearing a cigar, that's for sure.
We have a story about
she's usually more known
Lewinsky.
For something else.
We have a story about
Than the
Lewinsky
beret.
later on, by the way.
Yeah. We'll hopefully we'll be able to get to that. You're listening to Work Comp Matters. We're getting a little crazy. We started off talking about California, the sanctuary state, where Attorney General Jeff Sessions has filed a lawsuit, presumably at the behest of President Donald Trump, against California and immigration laws, and we end up talking about Bill Clinton and his sexual escapades. Where else besides Work Comp Matters? We're brought to you by A1 Law in Santa Monica Tickets. If you want the #1 computer management system on the planet, used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee, $1 a day, A1 Law. And if you want those hard-to-get, sold-out, front row even, concert, sports, and theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587. We'll be back with the guys with more news, more comment, and hopefully some answers on Work Comp Matters.
Sliding on the upside of down. Let me tell you, baby, I have earned my crown. Lord, don't let me be misunderstood. Ain't got time to watch no grass grow or romancing with Romeo. Here's a ticket to the rodeo. Lord, come on and love me like you could. Of candy, a little bit of something good, a little bit of something good. See, I drive carpool black book. Come on, baby, take a good look. Oh, the fish is jumping on the hook. Oh, don't think I wouldn't, 'cause I would. Don't say I ain't a lady. I'm a single mother, got my family. Sometimes you need a piece of candy, a little bit of something good, a little bit of something good. Something good, something good. Show me your good side. I ain't asking for no free ride. Come on over to my side, and you'll be feeling like you should. Oh, don't say I ain't no lady. I'm a single mother, got a family. Sometimes you need that piece of candy, a little bit of something good. Oh, a little bit of something good. Yeah, a little bit of something good.
The folk rock sounds of Susan Scheller on WorkCom Matters were brought to you by A1 Law. If you want the #1 computer management system on the planet used by more California workers' compensation attorneys than any other system, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee. $1 a day, A1 Law. And if you want those hard-to-get, sold-out, front row concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587.
Hey, boss, I was actually talking to you off the break. I was wondering if you ever had any aliases. I was learning about Trump's Dennison alias, and I'm wondering about you guys.
Actually, out of high school, I went to work for a collection company. I was collecting American Express cards, MasterCard, Visa, Union Oil cards, and working for a collection company, I was required to have a legal alias, which was registered for the state of California. Now, I haven't even checked to see if that's still there. This was, 30 plus years ago, and I got to pick my own name, and as long as no one else had it, it was good. And the first name I picked was Mike Fuller. So Steve Appel had an alias 35 years ago, registered by the state of California, named Mike Fuller.
Pretty vanilla, isn't it?
How about you, Mike? Anything?
No, I've had various epithets, but I think they all had something to do with, frankly, being Polish. So I won't go
He had
there.
nicknames.
He has a nickname, yeah.
Which I enjoyed them, by the way.
Well, I doubt Trump's alias is registered like yours was there, boss.
I can't imagine that Dennison would be registered with the state or the country, but maybe it is. Yeah, no.
But how do people even check in, like at hotels with aliases? Don't they require ID and like a credit card nowadays?
Well, that depends on the type of hotel you go to. I mean, there are certain hotels that you can just sign John Smith and it's no big deal. Now, if you're going to go to a 4 or a 5-star hotel, they're going to want your credit card up front. They're going to want 2 forms of ID, and especially hypothetically, if you're going to Vegas and running up a credit line, and we'll talk about this poker next week, they're definitely going to want to know who you are.
Well, then now that brings me to a different line of thinking here. It's a little off topic. We're still in the Trump sex life, which is tough here. But so I'm expecting Trump, $130,000 is the amount he allegedly paid.
Was
That
the
issue,
non-disclosure
amount.
agreement.
Okay. That issue.
That his attorney paid. That his attorney admitted it. So that at least appears to be factually correct. $130,000, yeah.
All right, and so this encounter happened at his hotel?
No. This is supposedly like an ongoing relationship. When the news first came out, it was a couple of weekends at a golf course resort. Now, apparently, the word is the relationship took place over 6 to 9 months.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if these rich gentlemen are the ones that are frequenting these prostitutes or whatever it is. are they going to like the Motel 6? I would think that Trump, if he was going to do this in a hotel room, would probably use that 4 or 5 star hotel.
Well, she's a porn star. Yeah,
he could get away with an alias. Trump could get away with that.
If you're a celebrity, it's allowed at the nice hotels, right?
And also, it's factually true that the agreement was signed within weeks of him either declaring for president. I think
it was in 2016. I think.
Yeah, yeah.
The payment.
Okay, so he talked with some political advisors probably. They talked to him about skeletons in the closet, and they found an affair with an old porn star, and they thought that's a good one to bury.
I'm sure he's got affairs going back 30, 40 years. It's no secret. And like you, it's not the affairs that I care about. It's the lying. It's the deceit. It's the arguable fraud. That's where I draw the line.
Well, maybe we should stop asking presidents about their sex life then. Right? If we don't want to hear a straight answer, what does it matter?
I can't believe you gave Clinton a pass on this. Did you, in fairness, give Clinton a pass, or were you
Honestly, I don't care about that on either. That's the truth. For a joke, it's pretty funny, and everyone knows that, if you watch some of that Clinton documentaries, he was doing some bad stuff to women that was unwanted. He's the original Harvey Weinstein.
That's true.
Then he also had Hillary, who was working on the sidelines
for him.
Of course. She would defame the victims right after. Yeah. Right? They're all liars. You should believe all victims except for the ones that my husband has harassed, generally.
I shouldn't say she pimped for him. Sorry.
Okay. Well, put it this way. There's a lot of hard feelings about the way Hillary would take to other women while she, at the same time, champions, some sort of cause for women. There is a hypocrisy there that has not been lost on the American people. But besides that, that's, one of the reasons she's lost, and she's old news anyways. Back to Trump's sex life. Gosh, that's hard to talk about. You know what I mean? I went to law school, but whatever.
Robert's digging this Trump sex life.
Well, the contract and how this entire operation works, whether or not the American people should actually care about this, or whether you should be more focused on, let's say, North Korea, the economy, immigration, gun reform, mental health reform, healthcare reform. There's so many things on the table.
Robert, the American public will always care if you're cheating on your wife. Now, whether or not your wife knows about it, whether or not she's cheating on you, the American public are not necessarily that concerned about that. But if you're the president and you're married and you're cheating, the American public cares. But as you said, that's enough about the president's sex life. Give me the next news story, please.
All right. Well, California counties are sitting on millions. Well, they're sitting on money from special tax on millionaires that should have been spent on mental health programs. We were just talking about this. But the state isn't moving fast enough to reclaim the funds, according to a state audit released yesterday. California State Auditor Elaine Howell found that the county mental health programs had stashed $231 million from the tax that should have been returned to the state by the end of the 2015-2016 budget year. On top of the $535 million that counties said they held in reserves for their mental health programs that year, according to the audit. Altogether, local governments had $2.5 billion on hand to spend in 2015 through 16. California expects to collect another $2.1 billion from the mental health tax this budget year and $2.2 billion next year, and the counties also earned $81 million in interest by holding onto the money. Good thing that we've seen all of those homeless and mentally ill people out in Orange County, and now we know that the California counties are actually holding on to the money and gaining interest on it.
Well, and right, and after writing this news story and actually listening to you say it, I have the answer to the homeless. All this money should be used to put the homeless to work, to building motels across California where then the homeless can live and they can work.
I think that's a great idea.
Of course it is. We've got the money. The money's there.
Okay, guys, I got to say this. Putting the homeless to work, they wouldn't be homeless. Do you see how if they were already working, if that was how they would already do it, they wouldn't be homeless? So your plan has a bit of a hole in it.
Okay, then let's put the unemployed to work.
That's better.
Working for the homeless.
Well, yeah, the unemployed looking at unemployed defines.
Is that PC enough, Robert?
Yeah, well, unemployed in the definition implies somebody who's actively looking to be employed, correct?
Well, it means they're out of work. But
correct.
Yes.
They're actively looking to be employed because if you're out of the labor market, you're not considered unemployed.
But it doesn't mean you're actively looking. You could be sitting on your ass.
Yeah, you have to be actively looking to be unemployed, I believe, right?
No, you have to be not working to be unemployed.
You have to be actively looking to get unemployment insurance.
To get unemployment benefits. Thank you. Yes.
Well, also to be to calculate, when we calculate unemployment, to be in that metric, you have to actively be looking
Correct.
for employment.
Correct.
Correct. So there's a lot of people who are not counted in the unemployment rate because they've given up.
Not the lumpen proletariat.
Yeah, but then there's also people that used to work 40 and 50 hours a week that now work 10 to 20 that are not considered unemployed. Yes.
Correct. So unemployment and underemployment, but those are two different metrics. But for unemployment, yeah, if we can get unemployed people, some government funds that they've been sitting on to help out to reduce the homeless population by moving them into some sort of housing, that seems like a great idea. Problem is this: all of these counties that were referred to in the news story, if you recall, a couple of years back, there was these pension crunch where they were giving away full pensions to city employees like firefighters and police officers after 15, 20 years of service.
Still goes on today.
Correct. So what happens is that these firefighters, they retire at 45, things like that, 50. And they end up working a second job and getting their full pension. For every firefighter and police officer you see in Orange County, there's usually 3 salaries for that one person.
The majority of all city governments, and I don't just mean California, but mainly California, the majority of all city governments are deciding what to do about paying out pensions, which consist of, if not 50, 75% of the municipal budget.
It's called unfunded pension liabilities.
Unsecured liabilities, correct. There's no security on these liabilities. They're unfunded. They're unsecured.
And a lot of the propositions that we vote for in California that go to fund roads and go to fund bridges and stuff, they get moved out of the pool and they get moved around either into the general fund or whatnot.
It's a huge problem.
So they can go to fund underfunded pensions. Absolutely.
Yeah, to cover the shortfall because there's so many bad decisions that were made previously. So when you see a news story like this and you see the county sitting on the money just trying to gain a little interest, 80 million or whatever it is, you can kind of understand their motivations on not wanting to put the money to use and not returning it to the state as they should have, right? They just want to hold it because the time is money. At the same time, you look at that Irvine, Orange County
it's the Orange
stretch
County
on the Riverwalk.
The Orange County riverbed, which, by the way, a week or so ago, all of them were moved out and they were moved into different motels. And they're there for 30 days. They're in the middle of a 30-day stay, all of them.
But this all seems like some sort of a supervillain cartoon plot line.
Well, wait till the 30 days expires and they have to leave the motels. Where are they going to go?
I'm talking about the fact that you have like government cronies that are holding money that was meant for the mentally ill and the homeless.
I totally agree with you.
That you're looking at them on the street suffering, but really you rather gain interest on the cash. It's something you see in a TV show. It's unbelievable. Is someone going to be held responsible for this, or is it just a collective fraud? It's a collective thing that they're doing. They all know there's not enough money, and collectively they all kind of shrug their shoulders and don't put it to use. So when you say the government doesn't do anything, city government, they're lazy, they don't do. No, they know exactly what they're doing. They're wasting your time for their money. All right.
And as we say on WorkComp Matters all the time, follow the money. Boy, I'm just looking at the time. We're 3/4 in. We've only gotten 3 news stories out, and we've got Robert's financial news coming up next. But right now it's time for a musical break. You're listening to WorkComp Matters. We're brought to you by A1 Law and Santa Monica Tickets, and we'll be right back after this.
Well, you can't turn him into a company man. You can't turn him into a whore. And the boys upstairs just don't understand anymore. Well, the top brass don't like him talking so much, and he won't play what they say to play. And he don't want to change what don't need to change. And there goes the last DJ who plays what he wants to play and says what he wants to say. Hey, hey, hey. There's some things you just can't put in the minds of those kids. As we celebrate mediocrity, all the boys upstairs wanna see how much you'll pay for what you used to get for free. And there goes the last DJ who plays what he wants to play and says what he wants to say. Hey, hey, hey. And there goes your freedom of choice. And there goes the last human voice. And there goes the last DJ. Down in Mexico, and sometimes it'll kinda come in, and I'll bust a move and remember how it was back then. And there goes the last DJ who plays what he wants to play and says what he wants to say. Hey, hey, hey. And there goes your freedom of choice. There goes the last human voice. And there goes the last DJ.
Tom Petty on Work Comp Matters. My name is Steve Appel. We're brought to you by A1 Law and Santa Monica Tickets. If you want the #1 computer management system used by more California workers' compensation attorneys than any other computer program, give me a call at 818-357-4120. And if you want those hard-to-get, sold-out front row concert, sports, theater tickets, give Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets, 310-395-8587. Without further ado, he came into my life about 5.5 years ago, and he's now a successful workers' compensation applicant's attorney with the Work Comp Matters Financial News Report, attorney Robert Ozeron.
Good evening, everyone. This is attorney Robert Ozeron with the Workers' Comp Matters Financial Report for the week of March 7th, 2018. The Dow closed today at 24,801, down $82.76 for the day. The S&P 500 closed about even, 30.45 to 27.26. That's a little bit down. And the NASDAQ was down a bit as well to 73.96. Gold closed up at $13.26, silver at $16.80 per ounce. Platinum closed at $936.50 an ounce, and a barrel of crude oil cost $61.34 a barrel. Dividend stocks generate valuable income for a portfolio only if consistent. Don't be seduced by high yield alone. In today's market, a high yield dividend stock pays 4% or better, says Kevin G. Bauer, managing principal of BCJ Financial Group in Sandy, Utah. However, the growth potential and risk associated with higher yields may be vastly different. Market volatility can also challenge the dividend sustainability, and raising interest rates add another wrinkle. When interest rates rise, some high-yield dividend stocks may fall. This has been attorney Robert Ozeron with the Workers' Comp Matters Financial Report for the week of March 7th, 2018.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We're going to get to some more news, more comment. Robert, I got to ask you, did you hear the one about the topless bar?
Is this a joke? No, I want to.
Actually, it's not a joke. It's not that type of bar. The state of Utah, the Utah State Bar, sent a photo of a topless woman to every lawyer in the state of Utah as part of an email to advertise their spring convention. I think this is our first story on Utah we've had on Work Matters. Attorneys from across the Beehive State were taken aback at about 3 p.m. Monday after they were sent an image advertising the 2018 convention in St. George that featured a picture of a woman's bare breasts. From the Utah bar on their Twitter, quote, "Apologies to all who received an inappropriate email from the Utah State Bar, period. We are aware of the situation and are investigating the matter, period," close quote. And I did attempt to get a picture, and unfortunately I was unsuccessful.
Steve, now how do you think that happened? I thought that maybe it was some guy that put it on as a joke and then either mistakenly or some other guy hit the send button.
I think it's the Ruskies.
No, this is more Russian hacking. This is what they've been up to.
Russian hacking, especially in Utah where coffee is like heroin, right?
There's
Yeah.
a lot of Russians in Utah.
Well, I don't know. What's the death count from getting that photo? How many heads exploded in Utah?
I have no idea.
I hope the casualties were low.
Mike, you've got the next news story on WorkCom Matters.
For those of you listeners who occasionally develop writer's block, from Gary Black of the Claims Journal, your effectiveness as a writer depends on how well you identify the reader and respond to his or her needs. Before you begin to write, ask yourself the following questions to help you focus on your reader. Who is your reader? Who else is likely to read what you've written? What do you want your reader to know, do, or believe as a result of your communication? What is your reader's attitude toward you and toward the subject about which you are writing? How much detail does the reader require? Which form of organization will persuade the reader to accomplish the purpose? What specific style and tone will the reader best respond to? Folks, Steve,
Yeah, it was.
this is KYFM. No, this is KYFM. Know your effing market.
Oh, yeah, it was a stupid story. I shouldn't have read it.
No, it's okay.
Okay. The division, along with that, the Division of Workers' Compensation has suspended 10 more medical providers from blah, 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 participating in the California workers' compensation system, bringing the total number of providers suspended to 2,007. They were suspended because of blah, 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 blah. Check out the DWC website for the names and all the details. The story that I want, who's got the one about California being ranked in the 50 states? That's the story that I want read. Okay.
I think it's the quality of life story.
Yeah, the quality of life story.
Okay, do you want me to do the quality
Give it
of life?
to Robert. Give it to Robert.
This is a good story.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the next news story. When it comes to those with the best quality of life, residents in North Dakota are sitting pretty at the top of the list. Guess who's dead last? California. California has the worst quality of life in America. At least that's what the U.S. News & World Report's most recent Best States rankings say. Released yesterday, the report ranks states based on healthy environment and sense of community. It also takes into account each other's urban air quality, pollution, voter participation, and other metrics. California ranked dead last in urban air quality, 45th in low pollution health risk, 13th in drinking water quality, 49th in voter participation, 44th in community engagement, and 38th in social support. Rounding out the rest of the bottom five is Jersey, Indiana, Texas, Illinois.
We may rank towards the bottom in social support, but when it comes to taxes and benefits for the homeless and for illegal aliens, California, in my mind, is ranked number one. We have about 150,000 homeless people residing in California, and half of them are in Los Angeles County. They ain't going to North Dakota, folks.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't
It's the
see
weather.
hordes of people moving to North Dakota, especially in February.
Yeah, it's the weather. I mean, I guess U.S. News & World Report, the one thing they didn't take account for was population, because their opinion is one thing, but then, of course, there's 20 million opinions here in Los Angeles alone. By where you plant your feet is your opinion about where you want to be.
Actually, it's about twice that, about 38 million.
All right,
yeah.
so U.S. News & World Report, humbly, perhaps they have other metrics that, for them, they should go to North Dakota.
They surveyed 30,000 people. The United States population is a gazillion times that. It's 315 million.
Nor do they publish out of North Dakota. So I think like the 5 people in North Dakota are just like, I guess we're pretty happy.
I wonder what kind of homeless problem they have in North Dakota.
Probably none. You freeze out there, right? You can die.
Exactly.
It's a fatal, it's a possible fatal issue out there. So here in California, everyone wants to live. It's the weather.
No question about it. Mike, you've got the next news story.
The Texas Division of Workers' Compensation on Friday posted proposed guidelines for reimbursement for injured workers treated through telemedicine. Telemedicine services are currently authorized in the Texas Workers' Compensation system. The new rule adopts the most current reimbursement methodologies, models, and values or weights used by the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services specific to Medicare. This includes applicable Medicare payment policies related to coding, billing, and reporting. One such condition is that telemedicine services be furnished to an injured employee at an originating site, and further requiring that the originating site be located in a health professional shortage area, or HPSA. This is quoting the rule. Thus, pursuant to Medicare payment policies, telemedicine services in the workers' compensation system may currently only be billed and reimbursed when provided to an injured employee at a Medicare authorized originating site that is located in a HPSA, end quote.
You know, a lot of people talk about the escalating cost of medicine, the unaffordability of medicine. I think telemedicine is the wave of the future. I think being able to communicate with your doctor or your nurse practitioner or whoever by Skype or by the internet is the wave of the future. Then if they need you to come down, they need to do a physical examination, they can do that. But too many people are jamming the ERs. There's too many waiting lines in doctors'
Spreading
offices.
flu virus.
Whatever, yeah, sure. I mean, the last place you want to go to avoid a contagious disease is the hospital, right? When you can do it by telemedicine, I think that is the wave of the future. I've got one of our last stories here. This is quite interesting. Russ Solomon, the founder of Tower Records, the most famous record store in America, died Sunday night while watching the Academy Awards. He was 92 years old. Solomon apparently had a heart attack, said his son, Michael Solomon. Ironically, he was giving his opinion of what someone was wearing that he thought was ugly. Then he asked his wife, Patty, to refill his glass of whiskey. When she returned, he passed away. Tower Records went out of business December 2006 after a second stint in bankruptcy. Condolences to the family and friends of Russ Solomon, the founder of Tower Records.
Yeah, I used to live and grew up in West Hollywood on the corner of Sunset and Larrabee. There was a Tower Video and Tower Records. Do you guys remember Tower Video?
Absolutely.
I don't.
Vinyl, there's nothing like, and I mean, especially if you waited in line for the records to go there, buy your record, you open up the cellophane, you then open up the album or whatnot to read the linear notes. Maybe there was a booklet, there were pictures in there, and then you, assuming you did not buy a cassette or an 8-track tape, you took it home, you had a little blow on your needle, and then you put it down, and you heard coming from the record. It's nothing like it is today.
You think the sound quality's better?
Well, here's the thing. I think in the past 10 to 15 years, everything has been recorded digitally. But before the past 10 to 15 years, it wasn't recorded digitally. And Scott might be able to answer this. Everything now has been transferred to digital and then put on a CD. The question was, does stuff sound better today that it's recorded digitally? The answer could be yes, but what about like the Beatles from the 60s, where it was recorded in analog and then transferred to digital?
Analog is always warmer. The Foo Fighters record analog, always.
Analog is always warmer.
Analog warmer, Foo Fighters are in analog. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it depends on the artist.
It depends on the artist, and it depends what's going on.
Analog over digital.
Yeah.
You're an analog guy in a
Well, that
digital
made
world,
for
you know?
great radio. I mean, if you would have been speaking into a microphone, that would have been better. No,
Yeah.
we appreciate
Fantastic
Scott.
opinion that no one heard.
That no one heard. That's
But
right.
it was illuminating, and we appreciate it.
And Scott, thank you so much. By the way, how's the politics going down with the geographical location here? Are you going to be able to keep it?
Next month.
You're going to know next month. Awesome. Well, I think we have about come to the end of our show on Work Comp Matters, dealing with the jurisdiction, the state sanctuary, and the United States government versus the state of California. It's been my pleasure to present another show to you. If you like the show, please subscribe. And if you don't like the show, please subscribe anyways and tell a friend. For my right-hand man, Mike Zyma, for my protege, attorney Robert Ozeron, for Scott Walton on the board of Uncle Studios, and for all the good people back at WorkComp Central that continue to support and approve of this project, including, but not limited to, Leaf File and Jake Paris. My name is Steve Appel. We'll see you back again next week, probably on Poker, with another edition of Work Comp Matters.